Okay, let's get right into it. I'm very excited to introduce Chitra Dharmarajan, who's a cybersecurity leader with experience in product security, privacy engineering, and solutions architecture, encompassing network, cloud infrastructure, application, and container service security. It's fantastic. And Chitra has been in the business for the last 20 years, and she's done different hats in Silicon Valley technology companies, all kinds of big names you'd be familiar with, like Cisco, Juniper, GE, Argo AI, and Box. And currently, she's working for Okta and Auth0, which I know a lot of our clients use. It's one of the most used identity providers. One of my friends works there, and heading the security and privacy engineering initiative. So thank you, Chitra, for helping all these people with secure identity services. As an innovative technical leader, she has effectively managed cross-geographical teams to successfully deliver secure development lifecycle, data governance, privacy engineering, penetration testing, product development, and release management initiatives. With her forward-thinking vision, she strives for a continuous validation framework, which allows to detect and reduce product security issues. She's also created a community of white hat security researchers and accredited security validation partners who have become an extension of the product security initiatives. Chitra continues as a micro-mentor in his startup accelerator programs, focusing exclusively on scaling organizations with the best technology to achieve sustainable business models. And she's also actively engaged with ND-ISAC. She volunteers in her community, spends her free time teaching Hindi and Tamil language to Bay Area children with Indian origin. And with that, I'll pass it over to you, Chitra.
Hey, Farshad, that is an awesome introduction. Thank you for embellishing it beyond what I have put in that abstract there. And it's my honor and privilege to be in this conference to meet you all. And OWASP has always been my go-to point. Whenever I am in doubt, whenever I need to double click on something, I always refer to all the resources in OWASP.org. And thank you for inviting me for this event. Hello and welcome, everyone. As security professionals, we are asked to secure our products and services deployed in an expanding infrastructure against accelerating threat landscapes today. We are here to discuss about a daunting challenge ahead of us. We are in an era where we are witnessing hypergrowth businesses and their need to fulfill a wide mesh of compliance requirements, an acute shortage of cybersecurity workforce, which no one can deny, and a widening talent gap. So how do we scale the security posture of our organizations and products? That is going to be the topic for this keynote. We are witnessing an exponential velocity in innovation. New technologies and products are emerging at a lightning speed, and so does the new attack surfaces. Security debt within our posture is widening, and we all will agree that cyber talent gap is not a myth. It is so real, we deal with it day in and day out. Organizations are facing growing threat not only from cyber criminals, but also from nation state actors. And these attacks are growing in sophistication and volume day by day. In order to realize the magnitude of this problem, I'm going to discuss some numbers with this audience. New research suggests that nearly 1/3 of cybersecurity professionals are planning to quit the industry due to crash and burn at a time when they are needed the most. Studies say that globally, cybercrime have costed us roughly about 1 trillion. This is a big loss, 1 trillion. I do believe it's a very conservative estimate. 1 trillion loss is such a large economic footprint for cybercrime across the globe. Let's look at some numbers within US. FBI IC3 reports that within US in 2021, we have lost close to 6.9 billion for cybercrime. And there is a big uptick of 4.9 billion from 2020. It's not just about economic loss. We also see a big uptick in the internet crime complaints. Between 2020 and 2021, the number of complaints have increased by 7%. And I'm sure we all will agree that our workforce has not scaled by 7% in the last 365 days. We are all very much familiar with Verizon DBIR, and which was released last month. And these are the top 4 attack vectors for 2021 as quoted in Verizon DBIR. Credential stuffing, phishing, botnet, and exploitation of vulnerabilities. And no organization is safe without a plan to handle them all. A decade ago, we were happily building applications and services in a monolithic architecture, which is hosted in servers living in our data centers. But today, we build our products and services in a distributed architecture, breaking them into multiple microservices, packaging them as containers, orchestrated by Kubernetes and hosted in a distributed cloud ecosystem provided by multiple cloud vendors. Let me take a breath here. This marks a clear jump in the complexity of our software. Complexity is the worst enemy of security, and we all will agree with that. And our systems are getting more and more complex over time. We are asked to build, on top of this, we are also asked to build feature-rich, consumer-grade experiences with secure by design, resilience by design, and privacy by design strategies. This has been a daunting challenge for business and developers. Let's quickly recap some of the factors for the expansion of attack vectors in the last 10 plus years. The first factor I would like to call out is increased usage of IoT devices. In 2009, when President Obama took office in White House, he was not allowed to use his cell phone. He really had to work out a deal with NSA to hold on to the BlackBerry during his tenure in White House. And this was approved after long deliberation and due diligence. Fast forward 10 years later, today we have federal agencies reporting higher usage of IoT technologies. And vulnerabilities in IoT device firmware, software, and associated infrastructure can all be utilized to gain access to network, monitor users, and potentially gain access to other connected devices for many number of purposes. Experts predict that the usage of IoT devices is only going to explode further. We are almost reaching the 10 billion mark as we speak today. The second factor is rapid adoption of the cloud. We are seeing an increased adoption of cloud with remote working dynamics. This comes with added complexities such as reduced visibility into cloud ecosystem, internet accessible dashboards and management API, cross-tenant segmentation requirements. With all these complexities, whether large or small, doesn't matter. No organization is immune to a cloud risk. A rookie mistake of services deployed with weak security configurations is bound to happen. It's not about if, it's more about when. Historically, when we were building security practices, we always assumed an existence of perimeter, trust versus untrust. We call something residing within a trust perimeter when it is locked behind a physical barrier like a locked door, or something behind a software barrier like a firewall. And that demarcation is obsolete right now. Information can be created within the enterprise, stored in external public cloud, and can be accessed by using a mobile device and edited on the road. The risk is very distributed between enterprise systems, cloud vendor, end user devices, and the end user themselves. And cyber attacks are maturing in sophistication and volume these days. With the nation state actors in the play, they intentionally strive to skip the breach, but maintain long-term connectivity to the included systems. SolarWinds is a typical example of this kind of attack approach. Inefficient, unpatched, and weakly configured services are becoming easy target for these attacks. And last one is about the digital transformation. We are all witnessing the pandemic catalyzed digital transformation, which is pushing diverse businesses to move into the cyberspace. Some of the conventional businesses like colleges, academia, library, traffic courts for that matter, all of them are moving into the cyberspace with untrained internet service users. So it is the need of the hour for us to think about scaling up our security posture. It is not just industry. Government is also working towards strengthening the security posture. President Biden signs an executive order to improve nation cybersecurity and protect federal government networks. The executive order have some key highlights about improvement in supply chain software security and improved capabilities for detection, investigation, and remediation, and creation of a standard playbook for cybersecurity incidents. These measures coming from the federal government indirectly influences the security roadmap of private sectors. Businesses are balancing between rising inflation cost and expanding spend for cyber attack prevention. If you are still not sure why we are going to talk about scaling the security posture, I want to draw your attention to see who is scaling. The offenders are scaling. We can see hackers scaling their operations by recruiting boldly in Telegram channels. They are exchanging exploit recipes and coaching and mentoring each other for success. We all know that we are at an inflection point now. We are demanded to scale our security initiatives beyond the capacity of our security teams. We are asked to do more with less. But how? This is only possible if we tactfully scale the security programs beyond our security teams. Scaling up the security posture with a limited workforce might seem like a daunting challenge, but it is definitely not a mission impossible challenge. With a strategic approach and a long-term vision, we can successfully scale without stretching our work hours. Every new foundation that we lay in this direction will need an initial investment in terms of time and effort, but will pay high dividends in the long run with a better work-life balance for our team and enhanced security posture for our organizations. With that, I want to discuss about a four-pronged approach for scaling up the security posture: people, process, technology, and operations. We will unfold each of these areas and discuss about various approaches and its adoption. There is a popular saying that you can't lead by fear. You can only lead by empowering people and enabling them to make risk-informed decisions. As a culture, we should strive to become enablers for risk-informed decisions and not to become gatekeepers for decision makers. People are an important and inevitable contributors in scaling and maintaining the security posture. So that's going to be the first domain we are going to talk today. I want to share an anecdote from my career. Once, an eminent CISO with whom I had a privilege to work with made an effective talk in a company all hands about the accomplishments of the security team. Everyone were mesmerized with what was done by the security team in the last 365 days. In the end, she asked the audience, whoever is a security team here, please raise your hands up. You deserve a loud applause. Few of us were raising our hands with pride. And then came the twist. She said, those few hands which are raised in this floor are only the people who report into me. But they are not the only folks who contributed for this success. I want all our hands to be raised to celebrate this success because all of you are part of security team. And there was a roaring applause in that room, and she conveyed her vision very effectively. Everyone in an organization is part of the security team. A security team can be considered accountable for security initiatives, but everyone is responsible and everyone should contribute towards scaling and maintaining that strong security posture. This is only possible when we are able to foster a healthy security culture. With that segue, let's try and understand how do we gauge whether we have a healthy security culture or whether we need to improve our security culture. Here is my thumb rule for that. If you have a relatively easy to follow pragmatic security policies communicated by an engaging and supportive security team with a very supportive approach for enforcement, you will have a strong security culture within your organization. On the contrary, if you have a complex and overwhelming, intimidating security policies communicated and enforced by an arrogant, punitive, or fear-focused security team, you'll most likely have a weak or perhaps even toxic security culture within the organization. Some of the key indicators we should always look to measure the health of our culture is like this. Employees should feel safe about reporting incidents even when they have caused it themselves. Employees should feel comfortable asking questions to their security teams. They should be frequently engaging the security teams for trainings or briefings, and they should seek early engagements with the security teams on their new projects. And everyone shall operate with the shared belief that security is a table stake and plays a strong role in the success of the business. That gives us a little bit of glimpse on the look and feel of a healthy security culture within the organization. To get to that healthy security culture, security teams should also foster a healthy atmosphere to reach out to them. It's more like, we constantly have to say to our peers, like, if you see something, say something. Make it easy to reach the security team members. Can it be a chat bot now that we are in a Slack-heavy organizations? Can it be a chat bot for a general security question? Can it be a 24/7 page service for a critical incidents? And can there be a security intake portal for reporting security concerns or questions from the field? Define the various avenues and the purpose for reaching the security team, and make sure that your peers are well aware of these avenues. And when someone reaches out to security team with a question or a concern, remember to acknowledge, act, and provide closure. And another best way to foster the strong security culture is to do an annual readout or biannual readout in a company all hands or town hall about the top 5 or top 10 security issues that the company has addressed in the last 365 days or 180 days. The purpose of these readouts is more like an opportunity for us to give kudos to everyone who participated in reducing the security debt. This becomes a positive reinforcement of good security hygiene. And we all are aware that October is a security awareness month, and we celebrate it with Stripe. I'm going to say celebrate Hacktober in a creative fashion. Make sure that you have weekly newsletter themed on specific security topics, and conduct some capture the flag, invite some external hosts, external experts for the tech talks within your organization, and remind the fact that security is always a team sport, and share the knowledge with your peers. And last thing, which I do not want to forget about the culture, nothing can beat the impact created by a swag or a t-shirt. Do not forget that piece. Be generous and appreciate your peers who are actively contributing towards Hacktober activities. When we talk about security, scaling the security posture with people, we cannot ignore the topic of security workforce. When building security teams, care must be taken to bring in diverse talent pool to the team. Keep in mind, you are building the security team to fight the attack vectors of tomorrow. There is no resume available in the market today which will have that unique niche skill that is needed to combat with attack vectors of tomorrow. Security is a process of constant learning and evolving, and learning starts from within the team. You may not want every team member in your security team to be an AppSec expert or a cloud security expert or a data security expert. You might want to have a combination of that. You want to bring in security experts from diverse domains so that they can cross-pollinate the knowledge amongst each other, and that by building a stronger security team. And also, security is not a job where we can punch out after 8 hours. It is round-the-clock responsibility. Think about a team with geodiversity. Can your colleague in another geography give you an air cover during your sunset? That'll be a big relief. And consciously look for talents with ethnic and gender diversity in mind. I recently read an article in Wall Street Journal which quotes that neurodiverse candidates are finding a niche in remote cybersecurity jobs. This is an untapped talent pool which is available for us today. Think along the lines how we can build that healthy talent pipeline. Diverse perspective is invaluable when solutioning a tough work situation in cyber work life. And building the talent pipeline is key. I'm sure when you post a job request on LinkedIn, it's not going to get filled any less than 90 days. So keep an eye open for that talent pipeline. Your next recruit can easily be an internal hire from another business function. Constantly seek for emerging security talent both within your organization and external to your organizations, and hone their security skills. Summer interns are a great resource. When you are finding a fresh college grad or a rising junior or sophomore working with you on a summer internship, help them build that security skills so that you are nurturing a talent pipeline for a future recruitment. Hacktober and CTFs are the great avenue to identify internal talent who are passionate about security. And I have seen a bigger success when security champions are slowly assimilated into security teams. This is more of their growth opportunity to wear a different hat and make impact on the security of their products and services. From time to time, it is also wise to bring new talent from the market. So once you have built a strong security team, invest in nurturing the existing talent pool. That is very important. When I say nurturing the existing talent pool, don't think about it may not be an expensive affair all the time. Thanks to the pandemic, there are a lot of resources available online these days. Like an OWASP conference like this, which would have costed people to travel to different locations to attend the conference. Now we are able to do it at the comfort of our home. And there are adequate freeware resources like CISA, NDISAC, OWASP, and a lot of YouTube training videos, online conferences. All of this can help upskill the current talent pool that we have in our team. If you are a manager, don't forget to have that conversation with your report about their long-term goals and make sure that the work is aligned with their aspirations. Let's get real. Attrition is not a myth. Attrition is real in cyber world, and we all know that the shelf life of a successful security engineer is close to 2 years in the industry today. Think about primary and secondary SME in each domain area. If you are in a security SME in a particular domain, it is in your best interest to identify a secondary SME and coach them with your niche recipes. This benefits you by having a great work-life balance, and this helps you move up the career ladder, and your team will be thankful that you were responsible with transitions. It is needless to say that effective security measures, which gives us confidence to make risk-informed decisions, are always an evolving journey with an evolving set of processes. With that segue, let's embark into our second domain. How do we scale the security posture with effective processes? In most companies, security is not within a profit and loss business function. This is because security is always considered as a process and not a product. And any process requires evolution and which demands continuous investments. The objective of a security process is not about making the security team looking good, but it is more about empowering the business to make risk-informed decisions. As an organization, we need to carve out foundational processes and playbook, which comes in very handy in times of need. A clear playbook of who does what and when is important to reduce the dive and catch rescue missions and avoids the crash and burn within our teams. It also helps us maintain a productivity rhythm under rough and chaotic situations. Vulnerability management process is one of the key areas where we see a lot of crash and burn. As an organization, you need to define and get a buy-in for a vulnerability management process. So when we compile a vulnerability management process, don't be prescriptive. Align with the cross-functional peers to arrive at a pragmatic SLA for the security issues. Be a collaborator and identify these SLAs. And there is always going to be a scenario. There is going to be one strong security issue that you may have identified that cannot get resolved within the specified SLA. So how exactly are these exceptions going to be treated? What is the risk management plan? Keep a risk management operations handy along with the vulnerability management. And there are scenarios where we will all end up doing public disclosures. So what is the procedure for that? Who compiles the advisory? Who reviews the advisory? Under what criteria do we agree to do attribution? So make a clear playbook on this and make sure your security team has rehearsed this playbook very well. So when they are in that rough scenario, they have everything they need as a resource and they can just operate with very less hand-holding from their managers. Benefits of an ongoing security assurance process can never be underestimated. We all will agree that security assurance scans tend to produce a lot of false positives. Due to these low fidelity findings, sometimes it causes annoyance and we lack the credibility within the organization as a security team. Constant evaluation of security assurance technologies should be part of the security assurance process evolution. So invest some time to evaluate the security assurance technologies on a regular rhythm. Responsible disclosure program, I cannot speak enough about the need for the responsible disclosure program and having a clear playbook to operate when somebody reaches out to us on the responsible disclosure program. The previous talk was exactly pinpointing the lapse in vendors when they do not respond to the external Good Samaritan security researcher reports. So make sure that you have a proper playbook available. Who does the tier 1 triaging? Who does the tier 2 triaging? And how do you respond back to the researcher who had communicated an issue to you? Keep the playbook available for these programs. And incident management and crisis communication workflow are key to reduce the workforce crash and burn. When it comes to tough situations, you want to engage your communication team to carve out the right words for you and the legal team to review the content. Stick to the facts, keep aside the opinions. Any misrepresentation in the security advisory, even though it comes with a relevant and appropriate remediation, can easily diminish the customer trust in a product or service. So make sure that we have the clear workflow, who reviews what and who approves, and then how does that public visible advisory going out. And when we talk about processes, we also have to be cognizant of the fact that security team cannot be everywhere. We need to build that cohort of security champions. They are our satellite team members. Enumerate with clarity on the purpose of security champions with your leadership. Be precise on the ask. Take a data-driven approach. What percentage of time will be needed from the security champions? Do the math. The primary objective of the security champions is to support the global team and act as an aid. Security champion is not a replacement to a security team. They are only a support system. For example, they can support us with low-touch security deliverables, but you cannot count on them to triage an incident, run the communication with the legal, and then publish an advisory. That is not their cup of tea. They cannot be expected or trained to do this. But what are the various return for our investment in a security champion program? A security champion can bring in the awareness of security depth within their sprint cycles. They can inculcate that culture that security is table stakes within their teams. And security champion can also participate or support the security teams in doing maturity assessment, analyze the gaps in their respective domain area, and identify relevant controls. These are some of the areas where we can derive support from security champions. And they can also be the point of contact for their respective domain. So if there is any security concern around that particular product or a feature, the security champion can be the first go-to SME to discuss on that. And security champion can always be trained to maintain integrations of security assurance technologies and keep the vulnerability backlog within the bay. These are some of the deliverables where we can see a return for our investment in a strong security champion program. And always remember, fostering a security champion cohort is a two-way street. We all need to remember that we need to invest our time with the security champions in terms of upskilling their security certifications and trainings. So with that, we are moving on to our third domain. There is no one-size-fits-all solution with technology. So when we are introducing technology to our organizations, that we need to be cognizant about what is the technology appetite for our organization, what is the scale of the organization. So with that segue, let's talk about how do we do threat modeling as a team sport. You may wonder why we are talking about threat modeling in a technology domain, isn't it not a process? I'm going to take the approach that we do the threat modeling to analyze attack surfaces of products and services built using technology. So let's talk about threat modeling under the technology domain. So we have to operate in a model that threat modeling is a team sport. We need to bring in more people to build the threat models. So how can we enable everyone to play the sport here? One of the key recipe I learned from my career is templatize the key security considerations for analyzing attack surfaces. OWASP Application Security Verification Standard has a nice section on with a clear guidance on architectural, threat modeling, and design requirements. Use this guidance to templatize some of the key security considerations. Once you have this template available for the team, it seeds the thought. The crew which is sitting in a table to build the threat model, they have the necessary seed questions they need to consider when they are building the threat model for their product or service. And apply careful due diligence when you are building in when you are integrating security assurance technologies. Remember, a tool is only as smart as the person who is planning to use it. Make sure that the security champion is trained to prune the false positives in the scan findings. Always consider any kind of in-house optimization or automations to present a consolidated dashboard, from where you can view the aggregated output of all the scan tools. You may never have all the resources needed to test your products or services. Utilize a crowdsourced researcher platform for continuous testing with a renewable talent pipeline. And on an annual basis, it's always good to have an external assessment with a third-party penetration testing. The last domain, which we are going to talk in this keynote, is about how do we scale the security posture with effective security operations. Effective security operations are half the battle here. We see a lot of crash and burn within our detection and response and incident management functions. And there is a lot of attrition around this area. That is basically, it's round the clock work. How can we optimize it? How can we do more smart work and reduce the crash and burn? With the amount of attacks that we face today, manual detection is just not scalable. For example, when we were chasing the footprint of Log4j a few months ago, there were few signatures available in the internet, and some of the incident response teams resorted to a quick automation to search their application logs for these signature patterns. Imagine this, if we only do this as a regular rhythm, not just for these critical investigations like Log4j. That is the emerging field of detection engineering. So detection engineering is nothing but a codified detection using software engineering principles and best practices such as consistent and reusable code, testing for production quality, repeated and reliable deployment using CI/CD workflows. Let's see how does this work in the field. Let's say an analyst is observing a malicious activity, and this analyst is filing a ticket for the security automation team, which is sitting in some part of the code, some part of the globe, and they are writing the code for this detection. They are testing the code and committing it to the repository. Now, from the repository, this code is pulled by the CI/CD workflow and deployed across the CAMs and XDR in our global deployment. Within minutes, with this approach, we can scale the detection of attacks across the globe with detection as a code. Some of the best use cases for detection engineering are service availability threats, insider threats, user identity threats, any spam or abuse scenarios, or if you have an attack signature for a 0-day available in the field, those can all be codified and we can optimize the crash and burn in detection and response. With that, I'm going to leave this audience with few takeaways. Security culture matters. Make it easy for your peers to reach the security team. Security champions are your best buddy. You cannot be everywhere. Make sure you foster that cohort of successful security champions. Threat modeling should be a team sport. Do not think security team are the only team or only responsible for building the threat model. It's everyone's responsibility. Burnout is real in detection and response. Attrition is high. Think about investing in detection as a whole. With that, thank you very much. And this was a great privilege to meet you all in this session. I have dropped my LinkedIn handle in my slide. Happy to take any questions offline in Zoom. Over to you, Farshad.
Thank you so much, Chitra. That was fantastic. We really appreciate that.